Grab your snacks and sit the fuck down. You are now entering the Justin Zone. What is up? What is up? What is going down, y'all? It's your boy Justin Creever, aka Young Mummy, the mother of the streets, and welcome to the debut edition of the Justin Zone. Okay, in today's incredible, compelling, and super fucking awesome episode, we will be discussing and analyzing and critiquing a video made by this guy. He calls himself the Anonymous Programmer. It's very dramatic. The Anonymous Programmer. And what he did, and he's also, I don't know, he's some sort of Christian zealot. And that's, whatever. Good for, fine. That's, if that's, anyway. So what happened was I commented on one of his videos. I can't recall what the video was about, to be honest. I can't recall. But I did make a comment, and the comment was in reference to the Judeo-Christian concept of omniscience, and I was arguing that, very briefly arguing that I find it a dubious proposition that there could be an omniscient, omnibenevolent, and omnipotent, omnibenevolent, and omniscient God. I think that we're looking at a lot of contradictions here, a lot of paradoxical stuff. I don't believe in a God anyway. I don't believe in any God, but that kind of God I don't believe in. So what he did was he made a video refutation or attempted refutation in regards to my commentary. Okay, so and first of all, I am gonna link his video below. So if you like, you can check out his video to get a better conception of what's going on. So in my initial comment to him, the text message, I really just mentioned three things. I just said, I don't, if we're going to presuppose that this is indeed a design by a sentient designer, I don't see much evidence of that. I just gave three examples because I didn't want to be extra long. I talked about the fact that humans only have one orifice for breathing and eating, and oftentimes we do get food stuck in our throat and suffocate to death. Number two, I talked about our very high metabolic rate, how we're constantly converting food into energy. And we really need to eat at least once a day, if not more than once a day, to have enough energy to just go through our affairs. And humans, because of this, humans often do starve to death. I believe 28,000 a day die from starvation and malnutrition. 28,000 a day. That was number three. Was just the notion of the brain and how it's a physical thing and so susceptible to damage. The brain being the control center of all cognition, dictating everything you think and do, and so on and so forth. It's so easily to damage. I said, why? Did the designer not make it metaphysical, a metaphysical entity controlling your body, or just make people outright metaphysical? Either way would serve. It doesn't make a difference, but just the notion of a physical brain with a very weak shell, with the skull, it's very susceptible to damage. And when you have brain damage, which happens all the time, that's not a walk in the park. That's not fun. That's a pretty serious thing. I mean, it really could have profound impact on your ability to think clearly, and oftentimes your emotions are totally out of whack, and you could have episodes of psychosis, and it is very tormenting. I know a woman who was brain damaged. She actually attempted suicide. She jumped off a roof. She survived, but she sustained brain damage, and she'll have it for the rest of her life. And life isn't fun for someone with brain damage. So those are the three examples that I used. I could have gone on and mentioned a lot of other things, and I could have mentioned a plethora of biblical references where God clearly doesn't have omniscience. For instance, God didn't know if Abraham would kill his son, right? It was a test. And if you know the outcome, that's not a test. And in the context of the Bible, it's pretty clear that this is a test. And like I said, again, if you know the outcome, it's not a test. So God didn't know if Abraham would kill his son when he instructed Abraham to kill his son. God didn't know if Job would continue to worship him, even though God tortured him. And again, it was a test. God didn't know. If God knew, that would defeat the purpose of a test. It wouldn't even be a test, and as such, there'd be no point. So God didn't know if Job would continue to worship him, even if he was subject to extreme torture. This guy, this anonymous programmer dude, his primary argument was something that he refers to as the argument from what the fuck does he call it? The argument from ignorance, he calls it. And the essence of the argument is that if you yourself are not omniscient, then you cannot offer an opinion in reference to omniscience. And, well, you know what? Let's just watch his video, just so you can have a conception of what he's talking about. So here, I'm going to play some footage from this guy. So check this shit out.
With that out of the way, the argument made in the comment isn't one I haven't heard before. It actually reminds me of a quote by Lucretius, the Roman philosopher. Had God designed the world, it would not be a world as frail and faulty as we see. Now, I don't know if this argument has a name and I don't care to look for it, but I like to call this the argument from incompetence. It basically says that if there is a God, he sucks at his job. The world is a crappy place and an all-powerful God could not possibly design a world as crappy as this one. Now, when it comes to a response to this argument, I'll go ahead and just get the stock Christian answer out of the way, and it's woven into the first few chapters of Genesis. God creates the world, God puts man in charge, man screws up, nature is broken. But honestly, we don't even have to dig into the biblical well for this one, because it doesn't really rise to the dignity of something more complex like the problem of evil. The thing about the argument from incompetence is that it requires a certain level of perceived authority to make it. Here's an example. When I'm not screwing around on the internet, I'm a writer. My education is in English and literature. Therefore, when I read a book and say, this is trash, I'm implicitly invoking the authority bestowed upon me as someone who has studied the craft and knows how it can be done better. Now, some people might disagree with me, but in doing so, they are also invoking some authority as well. The point is, if you're going to accuse someone of being incompetent and you expect anyone to take that as anything more than a baseless opinion, you need to be able to back it up. But the argument from incompetence cannot be backed up.
Okay, so this is what I would have to say. I have 2 points in regards to this. My first point is I think this argument would be totally legitimate if some certain presuppositions are made. I mean, if indeed we knew definitively, if indeed there is a sentient designer who is omniscient and omnipotent, then this would hold merit without question. If indeed there was such an entity that existed, this argument would be absolutely fine. The fact is, there likely isn't any omniscient anything. So in order for his argument to make a modicum of, or to be valid at all, is contingent upon making presuppositions, three presuppositions. I mean, I have to presuppose, A, that a sentient designer exists and created the cosmos, created me, created him, created you, my fucking amazing viewer. Number B, letter B, number, whatever. I have to presuppose that out of the tens of thousands of theistic defined gods that humans have entertained, prayed to, worshipped, conjured up with their mind, I have to also presuppose that he's chosen the right one. It's not Zeus, okay? It's Yahweh, the Judeo-Christian God. So that's the second presupposition I have to make. And now I have to make a fucking third presupposition, which is that this God is indeed omniscient. Okay. I'm not doing that. All right. I mean, I've already made two goddamn fucking presuppositions, which are, to me, are fucking stupid anyway. And I did that just in order to have the conversation. Because if I'm not going to make those two presuppositions, this conversation wouldn't even happen anyway. But I'm not making the third one. I'm not presupposing that there is any omniscient anything out there. I'm not, because it's fucking stupid. So, and I would guess, I would speculate that the anonymous programmer at this point would say, he would say something tantamount to this. He would say, well, Justin, you're not omniscient yourself, so how do you know there's no omniscient God? Okay, I don't know. And look, I concede that I'm not omniscient. And I do make the concession that I don't know definitively that Santa Claus doesn't exist, or that mermaids don't exist, or that fairies don't exist, or that leprechauns don't exist, or that the Loch Ness Monster doesn't exist. Okay, I'm not saying I know definitively. I'm just saying I don't believe in those things. And I don't believe in a God either. So if you're going to say that, dude, just save your breath. Well, he doesn't, yeah, save your breath. And there's no sense in saying that. I recognize I'm not omniscient, okay? I don't know. There could be mermaids, okay? There have been people that claim to have seen some, okay? There could be mermaids. I find the notion of mermaids existing to be unlikely. I find the notion of an infinite creator to be infinitely times more unlikely. But I don't have to prove a negative. I can't prove a negative, okay? As we know, you can only prove a positive contention. You can't prove a negative contention. Okay, so the burden of evidence is incumbent upon him and believers and people that assert that there is an intelligent designer. Okay, so yes, I understand I'm not omniscient, and I'm not saying there definitively that there is no God. I'm saying I don't believe in it, certainly. And I am not going to presuppose that there's an omniscient God just to get your argument off the ground. Okay? All right, so this is the final thing I'm going to say in reference to his argument, which he calls the argument from ignorance. Again, as I've said a plethora of times, I recognize I'm not omniscient. I don't have to be omniscient to make a judgment call in regards to human happiness and the human condition. Okay, I know that we, as actually not just humans, all animals, including humans, we enjoy comfort, we enjoy tranquility, we don't enjoy torture and torment. So we enjoy comfort, tranquility, things like that. Stuff like that, we enjoy. It's all cool shit. We all like that. We dig that very much. I certainly do. And we don't like torment and agony. So let's talk about some natural phenomenon that I would suggest or venture to say really doesn't indicate any benevolent, omniscient anything. It kind of suggests the contrary. So, like, let's say a woman holding her baby in her arms, having her baby ripped out from a tsunami and drowning and to death. A human. I don't have to be omniscient to know that she won't like that, and that's not conducive to happiness and tranquility. And I don't need. I don't need to be omniscient to know that. Okay, because we can measure neurochemistry in the brain. I mean, this is something empirically proven or empirically provable and objectively provable. I don't need to be omniscient to know that. There's a kind of parasite that what it does. All parasites are fucked, but there's one parasite apparently that embeds itself in your eye and eats your eye from the inside out. I don't know the name of it, but any fucking parasite, even a fucking tapeworm is horrible enough, right? But anyway, having that, don't tell me that's gonna be pleasurable, please. Please don't tell me that. Okay, I don't need to be omniscient to know that design, right? Designing the tsunamis, designing the parasites, designing pathogens, bacteria, disease, uh, designing chemical imbalance, psychological disorder. Uh, I don't need to be omniscient to know that all of that stuff uh, is not fun stuff and won't be construed as fun or enjoyable by humans. Again, humans do not like agony and torment. Uh, I don't need to be omniscient to know that. Okay, so the first thing I said, my first point was his argument would be fine if there was indeed an omniscient God. Then it would be fine. Unfortunately, we have not a shred of evidence in favor of an omniscient God, and I am not gonna fucking make that presupposition. Okay, I've already presupposed two fucking juvenile, stupid ass things already. I'm not making a third fucking presupposition just to get this lame ass argument off the ground. And the second thing I said is, yeah, it's like my boy. Shout out to the Black Atheist group. BA baby, stand up. You know what I'm saying? And it's like my buddy. I was talking to my buddy Sean Howard the other day. He's like, yeah, it's kind of like, saying, you're not a president, but you don't have to be a president to judge a president. Okay, I'll tell you right now, I'm not American. I'm Canadian. Happy to be Canadian, but I will say quite vehemently, fuck Donald Trump. All right, the guy's a fucking scumbag, and he's a fucking total bigot. All right, and he's just dumb as shit. He's so fucking inept. So yes, granted, I'm not a president. I don't have to be a president to offer my opinion on a president. I don't have to be omniscient to look around and say, I don't believe this is a design. If this is a design, it's a pretty motherfucking shitty design. And I don't know, man. Okay, so I think that about wraps it up. That was a lot of fun. I hope you enjoyed it. My name is Justin Creever, aka Young Mummy, the Mother of the Streets. This is the Justin Zone. If you enjoyed that, or even if you didn't enjoy it, favorite it, subscribe, and send that motherfucker to everyone you know, baby. Send it to every fucking one you know. Alright? And until next time, y'all, it's your boy Justin. Take care. Peace.